Hello and welcome back to the Side by Side Footy Show, where today I will be covering my round 5 aka gather round tips and predictions. Last week 6 out of 8, not too bad. Changed a tip last week, went to Pies originally against the Lions, but changed it around once I found out our boy Nicky Dacos wasn't going to be playing. Some good 50-50 calls last week that went my way. Freo against Crows and Hawks against the Cats. That was a great game to watch. Honestly, grand final worthy. But 6 out of 8 for round 4. We're progressing pretty well overall on 25 tips at the moment. Heading it together around. Finally, all the teams will be playing 9 games, 18 teams. Everyone's getting involved. Up and gather round, up in Adelaide. Should be a lot of fun. Some really good games. So let's get straight into it. Starting us off with the Thursday night game on April 9th. We've got the Crows against the Blues. I mean, this one, considering the Crows have lost so many games, close games as of late, hard to go past the Crows. I think the Crows will win this one by 24 points. I think the Blues will put up a fight, and they kind of have to, considering Voss has not gotten the sack. But could it be the game? I mean, at this point, every week we say, well, if he loses this one, then surely he's out, but they just keep him on. But I think the Crows will win by 24 points. Overall, I just think Blues will probably start well. Blues are a good contested side, at least for half of footy, so they'll stay in the game. They might even stretch out to a little lead. And Crows do sometimes take time to get going as well. So I'm expecting more of the same, really. Blues start well, but don't really get the big lead. Even if they do, the Crows are going to work their way into the game and beat them. And I think overall, 4 goals sits at about the margin that I'd expect this one to be. Maybe a little bit more towards the Crows, but not too much of a difference there. I think the Crows win it comfortably in the end. Moving on to the Friday night game. Now, this is a tough one because it could swing either way, this one. Obviously, the Pies against the Dockers. I'm a Pies man through and through, even considering going up to Adelaide for this one. But I've gone back and forth about this game because, at the moment, I'm thinking Nick Dacos is coming back in, right? If Nick Dacos doesn't come back in, then I think there's no chance we win this game. On paper, the Dockers do have a better side at the moment, and they're playing better football. Not as many injuries. Obviously, with Moore out, and if Nick Dacos is out again, we're pretty much screwed. But I think this is one that we could surprise. And like I said, I've gone back and forth. I think it's going to come down to moments, this kind of game. Freo are much better than us in the midfield at the moment. That's the issue right now. It's just whether or not, if we do intercept down back, can we transition the ball up the other end? We're capable of doing that against Freo, who defensively aren't the most pressure side. They're very good with the ball in hand. But if we get to turnovers, if we get to intercepts, can we swing back the other way and win the game? So I'm going to go with the Pies. Could change if Nick Dacos is out, but I'm going to back us in. I think we'll get it done by 11 points. I think overall, I'm expecting it to be a very good game. Could easily see the Doggers beating us by 4 or 5 goals as well. But again, I just think it's going to come down to moments and how well our defense holds up. We do play pretty well at Adelaide Oval. We do have a good record up there for the most part. But I just think this is the kind of game, we've got the Blues coming the week after. We just need to pick up a win here. If we have any chance of, challenging finals or anything else, then this is the game the Dockers for me are top 4 side. They will make top 4. So if we can get it done against the Dockers in this one, I think it'll put us in good stead. And I think if the Dockers do get it done over us in the end comfortably, I'm going to have to say that unfortunately we're going to look pretty ordinary this season. And it's just going to be a bad season, I think, integrating more of the young players, bringing them in, sort of working our system out, working them into the system and trying out different things and really preparing ourselves for next year, which is hopefully going to be if Ben King comes in and those kind of players. So it is what it is. I'm going to go the Pies by 11 in the end, though. I'll back us in just because I like our odds at Adelaide Oval. I think if this was at up in Perth, we don't win at the MCG. Again, kind of 50-50, but I'm going to back us in. I think we've really got to win. And the Dockers do have an easy run coming up after this. They've got 2 games against pretty bottom side. So I think it's one where they can kind of afford to drop, but at the same time, they can easily win on the night. It's just going to be about how up for it they are, and yeah, it is what it is. We'll move on into the Saturday games. First up, we've got at Barossa Park, we've got North Melbourne against the Brisbane Lions. This one is pretty straightforward. I'm going to go the Lions by 35 points. I just think North have done exceptionally well so far this season. I think they've lost one game against the Eagles, mind you, and they've won their other three. It's been a great run for them. And they have had that season a couple of years ago, from what I recall, where they were 2-0, 3-0, whatever it might have been. And they started really well, but they started to drop off. I think the Lions just won't lose this game. They're still sitting outside the 8 at the moment, the Lions. And I think this game is just too important for them. And North, for all the credit and how good they look with ball in hand, their biggest issue is their defensive work. And defensively against Brisbane, who are the strongest team with ball in hand, transitioning forward, and that forward line is so potent. Can't see North doing too much against them. So the Lions by 35 in that one. Moving on to the second Saturday game, we've got the Bombers against the D's. Now the Bombers in the end only lost by about 5-6 goals or 7 goals, which isn't too bad considering who they came up against, and the Dogs, who they usually absolutely spank, but it gets spanked by. But I think this one, it's hard to go past the D's. The D's super impressive last week against Gold Coast. Very well coached. Everything they done, from the ruck work to the stoppages to the pressure to knowing when to hit, when to stop. They just had a great game, and I think they're showing that they have a system about them. They definitely back the coaching, and Essendon just don't look like they have that same sort of aura about them, I guess. Could I see Essendon winning if the D's have a really bad game? Yes, but I just think the D's, they have to back up that win last week, and sort of, it's not about they could or couldn't make the top 10 or whatever it is, but it's about showing that fight, showing that competitiveness for the D's this season. And they've got enough in that team. They really do have enough quality, and obviously Pickett being put in the middle a lot more now. Going in the ruck with the new ruck rules is absolutely dominating, in my opinion. So I've got the D's winning this one. I'm going to go the D's by 21 points. I think in the end they'll just be too strong for the Bombers. Bombers will put up a fight, no doubt. But if the D's drop off in this one, I'll be pretty surprised. But there is also a scenario where I definitely see Essendon just going, you know what, we just have to win. We got to get a win here. But I'll back the D's in by 21 in the end. And moving on, 4 games on the Saturday. We've got next up the Sydney Swans against the Suns. This one is another one that just, it can go either way. This one, you can really see it going either way. I think Swans are slightly more favourites, but I'm actually going to back the Suns. I think the Suns will get it done. I'm going to go the Suns by 7 points. I do rate Sydney, don't get me wrong, but I just think right at the moment where they're both at, I just think the Suns are slightly ahead. Yes, they just lost to Melbourne, but I think, Sydney, as good as Grundy is, he's not gone, right? And Witt can put up a fight against Grundy, whereas Gorn absolutely won the D's that game against the Sun last week. Just dominated the ruck and always to advantage. And the D's, once they had the ball in hand, basically how you stop the Suns is you've got to keep the ball off them, and then whenever they do get it, just pressure the hell out of them. And that's what the D's did last week, and they did that very well, and they were great in transition and were able to get the goals. Swans can do the same, but Swans, they play more of a zone defense kind of system where they're kind of relying on that transition back shot. And so while I do rate them, and I think they could very easily win this as well, I think the Suns will just get it done, especially after that loss last week. They have to sort of show a bit of fight, a bit of something, beat a team that is currently sitting second above them. The Swans, I still think need a bit of time to really click a bit more. Obviously, they smacked West Coast last week, but it wasn't really that big of a deal for me. It felt more like flat track bullies than anything else. But I'm backing in the Suns for this one to get it done by 7 points. Could go either way though. Moving on to another game that absolutely is 50-50 for me, with a slight factor, which I'll get into now. We've got the Hawks against the Bulldogs, 7:35 p.m. at Adelaide Oval. This one is a cracking game, and potentially, as last week Hawthorn Geelong was, a grand final preview, because these two teams right now look like they're coming up against each other at a good time. The only thing I will say is that the Hawks have the slightest of advantage purely because Tim English and Ed Richards are going to be missing out for the Dogs. Now, having said that, they've still got one. Also, another thing is Liberatore is going to be out as well for the Dogs, and that's the only reason why I'm leaning this more towards Hawthorn. So I've got the Hawks to win this one by 8 points. I think in the end, even though the Hawks are missing a couple of players here and there, I just think, you know, you've got no ruck. Your ruck is gone in Tim English, and then Libba and Ed Richards. Libba is a contest beast, able to get in there, get the ball out, and then Ed Richards, such a great ball user. You're missing two key part of the system there, and against the Hawks, who will make you pay, I just think the Hawks will have enough to get it done in the end. I can see it going either way, even with the outs, but I think you're just going to have to give slightly put the Hawks slightly ahead purely because of the outs that the Dogs do have. So I'm going to go the Hawks by 8 points, and that'll finish up the Saturday games. Moving on to the Sunday game, April 12th. First up, we've got the Cats against the Eagles. Now, the Cats lost a belting classic of a game right at the end, last few seconds. That would have hurt them, so they are going to absolutely come out in this game and just put a whipping on the Eagles. I think the Cats will win very convincingly in the end. I'm going to go the Cats by 55 points. Nothing too major, but I just think it's just a game they're going to have to basically walk through, get it done, don't get any injuries, and then move on to the following week. So not too much to say about that. The Eagles have shown a bit of fight this season, but the Cats just have to respond after losing the way that they did against the Hawks. So I'm going to go the Cats by 55. Moving up next, we've got the Giants and the Tigers. This one is, I mean, the Giants have to win, right? Like you can't see a scenario where the Giants don't win. It'll be pretty bad for them if they do. They are sitting 16th at the moment, so this is just a must-win game. I don't see a scenario where they don't win this. I'm going to go the Giants by 40 points. I think they'll win convincingly in the end. They just have to get it done. There's no ifs and buts about it. If they can't win this game, the season's gone. So the Tigers, have shown a little bit here and there, but clearly still a lot of efficiency problems, a lot of ball usage and execution skills and stuff. The system works, but the players aren't quite there yet to execute it to its capacity. They do have the odd game here and there where they absolutely just get it right, but I don't think this will be one of those. So the Giants there by 40 points against the Tigers. Moving on to the final game of the round, we've got Port against the Saints. Another game that could kind of go either way. I can really see it, I can see both teams winning, but I think the key factor here is the Saints haven't picked up enough wins yet this season. They're sitting 14th whereas Port is actually in 8th spot, and I don't think Port are a top 8 side this season. So I think the Saints will have to get it done, and they'll have to find a way to get it done. If they can't get this one done, then there'll be a lot of problem for them. They do have better players across the whole field, I think, and there's been enough time with the new players integrated into the team for them to really start to mesh together a lot better. I've got the Saints winning this one by 17 points. Nothing too convincing, I think they'll be comfortable in the end. Port will absolutely put up a fight for a big chunk of the game, but I think the system the Saints have with the defensive zone and the players that they've got in, and Port, I just think they're still a bit undercooked, and we'll need a bit of time for anything to show from the new coach. Currently, just not too much has really been shown from them, but I think the Saints will get this one done by 17, and that will be it for Gather Round. What do you think? Let me know what your thoughts are on my tips. Let me know what your tips are. Let me know how you're progressing this season. Are you enjoying the footy season this year? A lot of controversy about, the buys and the Gather Rounds and the opening rounds and the wild card rounds, and yeah, a lot to play out. But thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. Have a great day. God bless. Take care. Peace.